Curiosity has its own reason for existing. The important thing is not to stop questioning. If you can't explain, you don't understand it well enough. Hey all, today we'll be discussing concepts of free water clearance and diuretics under the following objectives. So, as we all know that the control of body water depends upon the intake of the fluid and the renal excretion and absorption of water. So normally the fluid intake is somewhere around 2300 ml and insensible water loss is through lungs, GIT and skin. So in this volume homeostasis, kidneys eliminate approximately 1.5 liters of water from the body. But this loss of water through the body is highly variable and it basically depends on the requirement of the body and the various factors which influence the glomerular filtration as well as the tubular reabsorption. Kidneys has got specific mechanisms through which it has the ability to excrete dilute urine or the concentrated urine. Now this reabsorption of water which is occurring through the renal tubules, it can be a facultative reabsorption or it can be obligatory reabsorption. Facultative means not necessary and obligatory means necessary absorption of water. So for about 85% of the water is absorbed in an obligatory manner. That means it has to be absorbed under all conditions. So 85% is obligatory absorption and the remaining 15% of the water is absorbed in a facultative manner. Obligatory reabsorption of water is occurring in the earlier parts of the nephrons, that is the proximal convoluted tubule. However, the facultative reabsorption, that is the reabsorption which is not a mandatory part, is occurring in the later segments, especially the distal tubule and the collecting ducts, and it is under the effect of antidiuretic hormone or the vasopressin. So we can see here in this picture the various segments of the nephrons showing the tubular osmolarity at different levels. 300 milliosmol as the tubular fluid reaches the proximal portions of the tubule. Moving further, as the fluid reaches the loop of the Henle, the hairpin bend, the osmolarity is very high enough, leading somewhere around 600 milliosmols. As the fluid rises up in the ascending limb and reaches the thick ascending limb of the loop of Henle, the fluid becomes hypotonic around 100 milliosmoles and as a result it remains hypoosmotic because of the continuous absorption of the various channels, the sodium 2 chloride potassium channel here and the sodium chloride channel over here. And finally, the hypotonic urine fluid as it passes through the collecting duct, outer and the inner medullary collecting duct, the final concentration of urine is decided depending on the availability of the antidiuretic hormone. So, if the antidiuretic hormone is absent, that means there will be no absorption of water through this segment will occur, leading to formation of excessively dilute urine. On the other hand, if ADH is present, then large amount of water will be absorbed back in this portion, as a result of which when the water will be reabsorbed back from this portion, the concentration of the tubular fluid and the final concentration of urine will increase to about 1200 milliosmoles. So, okay, you can see here in this chart, just to make you more aware that the action of ADH is specifically occurring in these portions of the nephron. So under the effect of ADH, the permeability of these segments to water is increased tremendously. However, when the ADH is not present, the permeability of these segments to water is very less. See. A normal 70 kg human must excrete about 600 milliosmol of solute each day to get rid of the waste products of metabolism. Water. So that means kidney cannot excrete solute as it is. These solutes should be dissolved in certain amount of water to excrete it. So that means under all conditions, if the kidney is functioning properly and if the kidney is trying to remove the solutes, then to remove 600 milliosmoles, it needs certain amount of volume, and that volume will be known as the obligatory urinary volume. So just try to understand what is obligatory urinary volume. Obligatory volume refers to the minimum volume, alright, that must be excreted to get rid of the 600 milliosmoles. Why I am saying 600 milliosmoles? Because under all conditions 600 milliosmoles are the waste metabolic products which has to be excreted by the kidneys. So even if the kidney is functioning with the maximum concentrating ability, even if it is trying to reabsorb back all the water, the kidney has to reserve some water for these 600 milliosmol which it will excrete. And the amount of water which is required to excrete, say, these 600 milliosmol is referred to as the obligatory urinary volume. So we can say that urinary volume is equal to osmoles which is excreted per day upon urinary osmolarity. So we can find out the amount of volume by this formula. You can see this formula here. I am trying to tell you through this formula what is the minimum amount of urine which is required to excrete 600 milliosmoles. So this can be calculated by utilizing this formula, that osmoles which are excreted per day, which that is 600 milliosmoles, and if we are going to divide it with the maximum concentrating ability of the urine, which is somewhere around 1200, then we will get an amount, that is volume, that is about 0.5 liter per day. So which means that if the kidney has maximum concentrating ability in the conditions where body is suffering from a dehydrated state, or where the body needs to conserve water, even in those conditions the minimum volume of urine which will be produced is about 0.5 liter per day, and this volume is required to excrete 600 milliosmoles which are produced as a result of metabolic waste metabolism which is going inside our body. And the kidney at this condition is functioning with maximum concentrating ability, and the ADH is being secreted to its maximum level to conserve all the water. Okay, so this is known as the obligatory urinary volume. Interesting question. What is happening? Along with drinking water, we are also consuming the solutes which are dissolved in seawater. As we all know that seawater is highly concentrated, and the concentration of seawater is somewhere around 1200 milliosmoles. So that means if we are drinking 1 liter of seawater, we are consuming solutes. 1200 milliosmoles of solutes are entering in our body over and above the requirement of our body. Okay? So that means with this water, now the kidney needs to excrete 600 milliosmoles as a result of usual metabolic waste, and 1200 milliosmoles which has entered our body because of the entry of the seawater. So now kidney needs to eliminate 1200 milliosmoles plus 600 milliosmoles altogether. So we all know that when the kidney is functioning with maximum reabsorptive capacity, in those conditions 0.5 liters is required to eliminate 600 milliosmoles. Okay, but now the kidney needs to eliminate 1200 milliosmoles also, and when the maximum urinary ability is concentrating ability is 1200, we are considering a situation where body is dehydrated. So in those conditions, ADH will be released in its maximum capacity, and in these conditions, the concentrating ability of the kidney will be around 1200 milliosmoles per liter. So the volume of water which will be required to eliminate 1200 milliosmole will be 1200 divided by 1200. So it will come out to be 1. So that means along with 0.5 liter which is required to eliminate 600 osmoles, which are usual waste products, about 1 additional liter is required to eliminate the solutes which we have consumed along with the seawater. So that means 1200 milliosmoles and other solutes should be removed from the body, and for this total volume of urine will be required somewhere around 0.5 to 2 liters. So here we can see that instead of causing benefit to our body, 1 liter of water requires additional excretion of 1 liter of urine. So body will not be benefited from the seawater. Instead, it will lead to a state of rapid dehydration because of the net loss of fluid of about 1 liter for every liter of seawater drunk. Okay. Now, here is another term, osmotic clearance. Osmotic clearance is a commonly used terminology in renal physiology. So we can define osmotic clearance as the amount of plasma completely cleared of the osmotically active solids, okay, each minute. So in a simpler version we can say that it is the rate at which the plasma is cleared of the osmotic particles. The formula for calculating the osmotic clearance is urinary osmolarity into V upon plasma osmolarity. So that means if we want to find out the osmotic clearance of a substance, we need to know the urinary osmolarity of that particular substance into V, which is referred to as the urinary flow rate. Actually it is not V, it is V with a dot over it, divided by the plasma osmolarity. So this formula is very important to remember, that osmotic clearance of a substance is equals to UV upon P. Normally the value of COS or osmotic clearance is about 2 ml per minute when we are considering the plasma osmolarity of 300, urinary osmolarity is 600 and urinary flow rate is 1. Okay, but whenever there is osmotic diuresis, that is there is increased loss of solute in water, in urine along with water, the osmotic clearance will be increased, and osmotic clearance will be decreased in those conditions like fasting and the diet which is deficient in proteins. Another terminology, free water clearance. Free water clearance is basically the term which is utilized for the quantification of concentrating and diluting abilities of the kidney. So whenever we talk in terms of the amount of water reabsorbed or excreted by the kidney, we talk in terms of free water clearance. Actually, kidneys has the ability to, hypothetically, it is seen that kidneys has the ability to separate water from the solutes, that is, it is able to compartmentalize solutes and water, and this ability of kidney helps in the generation of water which is solute free, and this solute free water is referred to as the free water clearance. Although this is a hypothetical situation that there is a compartmentalization of solutes and water into two different compartments, but still we can say that the two segments in the kidneys, that is the thick ascending limb of the loop of Henle and the cortical ducts, which does not allow water to move out of the lumen, although they allow solutes to move out, as a result of which they tries to separate the solute from the water. So as a result of which the kidney is able to generate water which is entirely free of solute, and the quantity of this solute free water is calculated, it is quantified as free water clearance. So we can say that urine output, or we can say the volume of the urine which is formed, is actually the sum of the volume which is necessary to dissolve the excreted solutes, that is, which is necessary to remove the solutes and dissolve them, plus the volume which is free of solute. Okay, so let me explain this thing again to you, that suppose this is the volume of the urine. Volume of the urine basically having some fluid and some solute. It is actually a combination of certain amount of volume of urine which is having solute in it, plus a volume without any solute in it. Alright, so that means the urine output is basically made up of two segments, a portion which has dissolved solute in it and a portion which has no dissolved solute in it. So the portion where there is no dissolved solute in it, that means this portion, this is referred to as the solute free water or the free water clearance. Right. So if we say that the urine, final urine volume or the urine output is the sum of volume of the urine with solute, that is which is clearing the osmose, that is C osmole, plus clearance of solute free water, that is C free water, then free water clearance is equal to, just rearranging the equation once again, free water clearance will become equal to the final urine output minus the osmolar clearance, that is the volume of the urine which is dissolved with the solutes, leading to a clearance of the osmoles. Free water clearance. So conditions where antidiuresis occurs includes whenever there is increase in the plasma osmolarity, whenever the body homeostasis is disturbed, plasma osmolarity rises, or wherever there is decrease in blood volume, or whenever there is a fall in blood pressure, the antidiuretic hormone will be secreted and it will try to conserve water, and in all such conditions the free water clearance will become negative. So we will see this free water clearance one by one. In case of a very dilute urine, whenever the urine formation is very dilute, in such a condition what will happen? Looking over to this formula, we have to see this formula. Okay, if the urine is very dilute, dilute urine means the osmolarity of the urine will be less. Then putting trying to correlate from this formula UV upon P, urine osmolarity is less as compared to the plasma osmolarity, then the value of this complete formula will be less than 1. If this complete value will be less than 1, if this is less than 1 and we are going to put this less than 1 value over here, and we are going to minus it by 1, because V is 1. V minus something which is less than 1 is always positive. So just try to remember, when the urine is very dilute, the urine osmolarity will always be less than the plasma osmolarity, and the free water clearance will come out to be positive. Alright. On the other hand, when the urine is very concentrated, if the urine is very concentrated, again we can utilize this formula. C is equals to UV upon P, if C is equals to UV upon P and U is greater than P, because urine osmolarity is higher than the plasma osmolarity, then this putting it into this formula, C is equals to UV upon P, U is greater than P, then of course this value, the value of this fraction will definitely be more than 1. So in such a condition, when C osmolar value is more than 1, it is more than 1 and V is of course always 1, in such a condition the value will come out to be negative. So just remember, when the urine is very concentrated, then the urine osmolarity will be high and the free water clearance will be negative, and with maximum concentrating capacity, the volume of urine excreted, free water excretion is minus 1.5. Now, if the urine is isoosmotic, in such a condition, urine osmolarity is equal to the plasma osmolarity. If again we are trying to put it in this formula, U is equal to P. So, in such a condition, U is equal to P, then the osmolar clearance will become equal to V. Okay? And therefore, the free water clearance will be 0. So these three conditions to remember: urine very dilute, positive free water clearance; urine concentrated, negative free water clearance; and when the urine is isoosmotic, the free water clearance is 0. So this is just the quantification of the amount of water which is excreted by the urine. Okay, now moving further to a term which is known as water diuresis. Now, what is water diuresis? Whenever large quantities of hypotonic fluid is taken up by the body, then after 15 minutes, body tries to excrete out this excess amount of water, and it reaches a peak somewhere around 40 minutes. Okay, so what is the response which is generated? As soon as the water intake rises, there is decrease in the plasma osmolarity, a very important signal, and this decrease in the plasma osmolarity inhibits the osmoreceptors in the anterior hypothalamus, leading to decrease in the secretion of the ADH, and with this will finally decrease the reabsorption of water by reducing the permeability, and as a result of which the urinary volume increases. This condition is known as water diuresis. So, water diuresis occurs due to the absence of ADH in the plasma and also because of the decrease in the plasma osmolarity. And under such conditions, the maximum urine flow can rise up to 16 ml per minute, which is somewhere around 2 ml per minute. It can rise up to 16 ml per minute. There is another term which is known as water intoxication. Water intoxication is seen if the ingestion of water is too much and the rate at which the ingestion is occurring exceeds the rate of excretion, that is, it exceeds 16 ml per minute. So if rate of ingestion is far beyond the rate of excretion, maximum excretion, that is 16 ml per minute, what happens? And too much of water enters into the extracellular space. There will be too much of water, the plasma will become hypotonic because of the decrease in the excretion as the ingestion is too much, and this water will try to move inside the cell, and as a result of which this will produce swelling of the cells. And water intoxication can lead to the swelling of the brain cells, and once there is a swelling in the neuronal cells, it can lead to coma as well as to convulsions. So water intoxication especially occurs in those cases where the excretion rate of water is less than the ingestion rate, and the ingestion rate is far beyond 16 ml per minute. Okay. So there is another term which is known as osmotic diuresis. Osmotic diuresis refers to the diuresis always means increased excretion. So the urinary output is increased because of osmotic effect. So whenever there are some unreabsorbed solutes in the renal tubules, and these unreabsorbed renal tubules creates too much of osmotic effect, they will draw water along with them, and these will be excreted out in urine. So this is referred to as the osmotic diuresis. A very common example of osmotic diuresis is seen in cases of patients of diabetes mellitus, where the level of glucose is rising. If the plasma glucose concentration in diabetic patient is very high, and the tubular filtered load becomes too much higher than the TMG of glucose, then this glucose will appear in the renal tubules, and these glucose molecules will exert osmotic effect. They will draw water with them, and this will be excreted in. So glucose, apart from glucose, urea, sodium chloride, they are all osmotically active agents which exert significant osmotic diuresis. Another term is pressure diuresis, which refers to the diuresis occurring in response to increased blood pressure. So effect of increased blood pressure to increase urinary volume excretion. On the other hand, pressure natriuresis refers to the increased blood pressure to increase urinary sodium excretion. So pressure natriuresis and pressure diuresis are occurring most of the times all together. Here is a chart which will show the difference between water diuresis and osmotic diuresis. Again, I would say a very important chart to differentiate between the two diuresis. So by this PowerPoint, I have tried to explain you the concept of free water clearance along with the diuresis. I hope you are able to understand and clarify the topic. Thank you so much.